Welcome to Talking to the Torso. Today I'm chatting with Christian Chainsaw Newton. Christian is a well-known Australian sculptor and installation artist. He is broadly exhibited across Queensland and New South Wales, as well as being an educator in art, expression and free thinking. Enjoy the
Hey
chat.
folks, how are you? Today I'm with Christian Newton, better known as Chainsaw Newton. How are you,
G'day.
Blake?
G'day. I'm great, Dale. I'm great. Great to chat.
Yeah, man. Finally we caught up and got this technology to work, eh?
Yeah, yeah. It's not my favorite thing, but here we are.
Hey,
Not a bad way to start a Monday.
doing this stuff, mate, I've got such a shocking track record. I did an interview with Debbie Cool in the UK, in Scotland, and I forgot to press bloody record.
That sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we've been yakking for, 45 minutes, and I went to go and press stop, and it's like, oh no. So I'm a train wreck with technology from start to finish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too.
So I thought it'd be a bit of fun to have a bit of a yarn because you're the first sort of big picture sculptor that I've actually had a bit of a chat to.
Big picture. I don't know.
Well,
Large scale.
you
Large
get
scale. I
around
don't
a
know.
bit.
Big picture. Yeah, I'm not good at promoting myself, but large scale, yes. Just because you make it with a chainsaw, and small is hard, whereas big is easy and it's more forgiving. And you make a mistake, you probably got enough wood left that you can sand it out and have another crack, or you just get another log.
Well,
So
that's the other option, isn't it?
yeah, the
Other one
medium
goes on the fire,
chains.
gets sacrificed.
Yeah, yeah. It keeps us warm in winter. Yeah.
So where did your maker journey sort of start?
Well, finished high school. Went and did floristry. Floristry led to horticulture. Did a cert for in horticulture. That led me to chainsawing, tree lopping, and then from there I got good with power tools. And day after day, I'd be forced to cut down things that I didn't think needed cutting down, or else cut it down, and it was just beautiful timber that just went in a chipper or went to the tip, and beautiful stuff. You'd cut it open, and there's beautiful colors and grain and rings and things, and it seemed sacrilegious just to throw that beauty away.
Just
And
makes you cry, doesn't it?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it does. But renewable resource and all that, where I plant more than I cut down. That's for sure.
Well, we definitely see that up this neck of the woods, with arborists and all that stuff, and you see these massive chipper trucks, you know,
Yeah,
and, yeah, and I'm just going,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
particularly after a cyclone when there's just such an abundance of stuff that's come down, it's
Townsville gets cyclones. We get floods down here in northern New South Wales. Same sort of thing. It's a tragedy, and you don't want to outwardly smile, but I know there's going to be beautiful timbers just float to my doorstep sooner or later.
yep, and that tends to happen here. So yeah, there are a few of us who do a little bit of sort of urban logging and stuff up here. So if we see stuff, we'll try and rescue it.
Yeah.
But I'll regularly have it where I'll come home and there's a log that's been left in the driveway. No idea I've got no idea who's left it there. You know.
Uh, the beauty of me being an ex-landscaper is I know that it's thirsty work, and I know they all knock off at about 3 o'clock. So if I hear a chainsaw in my neighborhood, I go out, spot a landscaping crew, and then I'll go and approach them and say, "Hey boys, what are you doing with what are you doing with what you drop?" And more often than not, it's like, "Oh, we got to pay to dump it." And I go, "Look, 6 pack of beers, and let me pick through it before it goes on the truck." And if they're umming and ahhing, I say, "All right, a case of beers," and that's usually the hook.
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, "You're not allowed on my site. We'll roll it to the front door because it's someone's property, a client's property." Sometimes they're just like, "You have at it," and I will turn up with a trailer. I'll turn up with a snatch block, and by hook or by crook, I'm dragging that home.
Absolutely. And beer like that is always a good currency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's at the point now. I've been doing that for well, ever since I landscaped. So the last 8 years or so since I sort of gave landscaping away. Um, Yeah, it's a nice currency, and occasionally, I'll get a call from someone going, "Hey, we're thirsty. Come around, bring your trailer," and that totally works for me.
No, that's the way. How do you store it all then? You just plonk it at your place and
So
out it stays?
the beauty of where I live is that it's a commercial block, so it's a big. I've got a big backyard, tiny house, big backyard, and if it's freshly green, I dump it in the backyard, and I come back to it in a year. Or you can rough out a shape. It's much like wood turning. You can rough out your basic shape, and then you just put it away, and you slowly let it, the moisture
Do its
escape.
business. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think that's interesting that most people don't realize how slowly that wood actually dries out.
yeah, yeah. Some of my wood turning mates, they say it's an inch per year. So in that, if I'm cutting something, you probably know better than me. If I'm cutting something, it's a 6 inch log. You're meant to leave it 6 years. Now, in reality, I don't do that.
Nah.
12 months, 6 months if I have to. Um,
Yep.
Chainsawing, it doesn't always matter. I like that. I leave chainsaw cuts and things like that because I want people to understand where it's from. I want people to see any wood turners, they might spot a chainsaw mark, they might spot a sanding mark, and I kind of like that because that adds to the story.
Well, it gives it some legitimacy of where it's came from
Yeah,
and the craft behind it and all of that stuff.
yeah.
And
So
I
a
mean,
crack or
chainsaws
something
aren't
like that.
big. They're
Yeah,
big machines. You know,
yeah. And if the wood cracks and splits, then usually it's not a big one. Usually it's something a bit small and insignificant, and let's call it texture. They're not cracks; they're texture. Yeah.
well, it's the imperfectly perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And wood tells a story, and a lot of the stuff that I use is, reclaimed. And I'm not writing a story; I'm only adding a chapter to that story. And if that chapter is that it's split 2 months after I made it, then who am I to dictate the story?
Because the irony is that timber is just such a shitty medium, really. You know,
What's not a
it
shitty
really
medium?
is. I mean, it's so fundamentally unstable
No,
and whatever else,
no,
but it's just so gorgeously wonderful as well.
no. Wood is a feisty girlfriend, and sometimes she says no. Sometimes she
Certainly is
goes,
the redhead, hey?
yeah. Now you can work with that. You can work with that. You can persuade that timber to be something, or sometimes you dig your heels in and you force timber to be something. But usually the persuasion is the better end result.
Yeah, that's it.
Not holes. You cut through something that looks beautiful on the outside, and you find out that it's got borers, or it's got rot through the middle, or it's got a dirty big crack, or some weird grain mark that just won't smooth out. That's the nature of it.
Yeah, and that's part of that thing of how do you actually incorporate that then into your design?
Yeah, yeah. That's you can hide it with texture as long as it's not straight down the middle. That sort of mucks things up. If it's a bit off to one side, it doesn't mar the design. It's yeah, it is what it is.
Because I'm finding that's really interesting that the more and more that I do this, the more and more I'm realizing that pure symmetry doesn't work. It's
Yeah,
not as
yeah,
appealing. It's just not as appealing to your eye than something that's slightly, and whether that's a
no,
grain line or whether that's something else, it
yeah. Look,
it
I
works.
got I got a bent nose. Now you probably don't notice until you stare at my face for far too long, but overall, somewhat pleasing to the eye. Um, and wood's the same.
In our old age.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah. It yeah, it's good. I really enjoy wood. It's got character. It's got heart. There's a soul to it, and it's my job to try and accentuate that and to bring that out so it's more apparent to viewers and to people to appreciate.
Because you're also working then across multiple different sorts of media as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been dabbling in metal. I'm a really bad welder, but I dabble in a bit of metal. I got a big sculpture at the Swell Sculpture Festival in a week and a half from now, and I've incorporated a giant 6 foot sphere of reclaimed metal signs and scrap steel. So the main part. Can I show you a model?
Yeah.
So metal ball, big. That's about 6 foot tall, and I got a dung beetle. The dung beetle is pushing the ball, but rather than dung, it's recycled metal, which we treat like dung and we throw away when we should be recycling, much like a dung beetle does. And so it's not really a hidden message, but for the kids, dung beetles are recyclers. They're nature's recyclers. We should be recycling the resources that we have. So there's the metal that I'm recycling. This is all the scale up. The 6 foot version is all street signs and hoardings, and there's an old pram, there's an old bicycle wheel in there, and the dung beetle is all reclaimed timber. He's about 6 foot tall, and he is slowly rolling this giant sphere across the beach.
So
And
when you're starting to go through the process of developing a piece like that, what's your time frame from go to woe, or does
okay.
that
In the
vary?
case, it does vary, but in the case of Swell, I apply for the sculpture festival in January. I get the thumbs up or the thumbs down in February, and then I've got till September to pull my finger out and source my timber. But I have to give them a rough idea of dimensions, weight, and they will address any safety OH&S risks, saying, look, kids could cut themselves if, and yeah, and I sort of go backwards and forwards, and then we settle on a final result that they're happy with, I'm happy with, and then I've got till September to bring that up. So we're looking at about 8 months. Some
Yeah.
festivals, Woodford, the folk festival last year, they gave me a month. Said, hey, we want a 7 foot lungfish. Can you make it? And you don't want to say no, because that's a big opportunity. There's a lot of people go to a music festival. They're not
Yeah.
there to see my timber creations, but it's a captive audience of people that, art lovers, whether that art is music, culture, what have you. There's a lot of people that I need to impress, that I want to impress, and I want to get my name out there. And so they gave me a month. Yeah, I dropped everything and yeah, met that deadline.
It's a very nifty marketing opportunity, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
something
and
like
they let me
Woodford.
put my name on
Yep.
it. Yeah, Woodford's great. Woodford's great for so many artists, so many creative people. It's just a melting pot, and I'm hopeless at music, but I appreciate it. And I'm sure there's people that are hopeless at wood, but can appreciate it.
Yep.
And so it's the meeting of creative minds.
And given that, Woodford's running for a week and a bit, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that you do have that captive audience. So for people who don't know, Woodford is one of our Australia's big folk festivals. Well, it's a music festival now, that really these days, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it
music
runs for
festival.
a week in Queensland.
Yeah, national artists, international artists. They'll have talks on permaculture. They'll have talks on women's health. All it runs the gamut of interesting things. There's always something to do. It's Australia's. I don't know. The alternative would be, I don't know, Burning Man or Coachella, maybe to
Yep.
some degree, with a more holistic sort of natural vibe to it. It's set in bushland out in the gorgeous part of Queensland. Yeah, I can't rave about it enough.
Yeah, no, I haven't been for a while, so it would be very handy. It'd be very nice to go again. It's just
Yeah,
dealing with kids and all that sort of stuff at that time of year,
yeah,
as you'll
yeah.
be well knowing, mate.
You might hear 5 months. Well, 5 months. I'm exaggerating. 5 week old baby, and she's kicking off right about now. I don't know if she's getting fed or she's meant to go to bed. It's one of the two usually, but you'll hear her in the background, no doubt.
How's the sleep deprivation going?
Yeah, I'm only 23.
Yeah, we've earned this white hair, mate.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
No, that's sweet. So I guess how long have you been doing those larger sort of installations in those types of exhibitions for?
Professionally, like making a living from it, last 6 years.
Okay.
Last 6 years. I've been dabbling before that, a couple of years, smaller stuff, friends, family, market stalls and stuff like that. But the big stuff, big enough to climb on, like 6 foot plus, as in too big to carry, that sort of stuff. The last six years or so. The only thing that stops me going bigger is, one, the timber, and two, I need a Manitou, or I need a crane, or I need some sort of machinery to physically shift it.
Because the logistics then of actually doing that and then transporting it from your backyard to wherever it needs to go, wherever that is
Yeah.
in Australia, is technically difficult.
Yeah. The alternative is I pack up my chainsaws, I throw a bunch of woodworking tools in my van, and I turn up on site the month before and I make it there rather than pay someone to freight it. Sometimes it's easier to do that.
Yeah, I mean the logistics around doing that is tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, that's something that I'm not going to be able to do going forward with a kid, with a newborn. But yeah, I have done that in past. I've been in Sydney festivals, interstate stuff, and yeah, and I get a holiday out of it. I get to meet some locals, and we reach out to the woodworking network, and I contact a men's shed or say, hey, I'm a woodworker, you're a woodworker. Do you have a shed I can work out of? Do you have resources? Do you have someone, a local timber, supplier? And yeah,
Yeah,
so it's nice. Woodworkers help each other. That's what I really like about the profession, or I like the passion. Yeah, much like yourself, we met over wood.
yeah. And there is that commonality about, having a chat about, yeah, this this annoyingly, frustratingly
Yeah,
wonderful thing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, but once it's in your veins, I think that
yeah,
you're stuck with it.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What's not to love? It's always going to keep you humble. It's always gonna keep you on your toes. It's yeah, and it's infinite. There's always a nice chunk of timber, that'll arrive on the doorstep, or I'll go find it next month.
Yeah,
And constantly learning. You never get to the end of this, which appeals to me.
I think that's true. That those people who reckon that they know it all, just kidding themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
That, and I'd get bored with that. I
yeah,
want to keep on learning and pushing the envelope and trying new ideas and having new thoughts and whatever else, because that's what just keeps it all exciting.
absolutely. And some of the what I think is a new idea is a really old idea. Wood stains, and wood stains are expensive. And well, one of my fellow woodworkers down at my local woodworking guild, they said, "Oh, you get a bottle of vinegar, and you fill that bottle of vinegar with rusty nails, and you leave it in the sun for a couple of days,
Yep,
and then you paint your timber with that, and it's a chemical reaction that darkens your timber, and it gives it this sort of ebony look to it." And so I've been dabbling with that. That's free, you know,
absolutely. Yep.
and it's something that's 100 years old. I only
Yeah.
found out
No,
about
it
it
goes it
last week.
goes back way, way further than that because all that stuff about using vinegar and iron filings, yep, to blacken timber, especially timbers that have got lots of tannins in them,
Yeah,
and then they darken out. I mean, they blacken out, and it's like,
yeah,
wow. And it just goes darker and darker and darker. And it's just funky.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that. I got loads of rusty nails. If I'm using, sometimes I use timber pallets, and I'm pulling them apart, and you don't want to meet a nail halfway through a job with a chainsaw because your chainsaw's blunt and there's a half hour sharpening the bugger again. So I'm always meticulous with pulling out nails, and I've got a jam jar full of them, and it's nice to be able to incorporate them and make them something that's, I don't like throwing stuff away. And whether it's burning my offcuts to keep me warm in winter, whether it's rusty nails I use as a wood stain or as a coloring, there's a way to use everything. Which
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy doing it. I've got a mate who works in a sciencey place, and occasionally I get some fungal spores from him, and I put that into a fish tank with a pump, and I put particularly mango in it, and I'll cycle that through there for about 4 to 5 days, and then I'll dry it and just put it aside, just wrapped up in shavings, just to allow it to hubble, bubble, toil, and trouble, and all that sort of stuff. And I can induce blues and greens and reds and oranges and all sorts of different colors. It's just this weird, mad scientisty shit that's just so much fun.
I got an old fish tank. I got a chunk of mango wood out the back, mate. Guess what I'm doing tomorrow? See, that's what I like about wood.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it was only because I was talking to this old bloke who had done it for years. And he used to have some of the same offcuts that he would just keep, and then he'd cycle that through and put other bits of timber into it, and that would then induce that spalting, and that it's the start of the fungal, breakdown process. But it's just really cool.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit of random's always good.
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
flicking paint at a wall. You don't know how it's going to end up, but more often than not, it's really pretty.
No, I mean, that's why I love stuff like Burl, because you just don't know what you're going to find until you've actually cut properly into it. Yeah. And I think that's all part of the mystery of all of that, you've got this bark overcoat, that's covering everything, and then suddenly, you slice it all open, and you just you're opening up and showing this magic that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah, I come across I was doing what I do. You can never have too many tools, and so with a limited budget, I was always going to garage sales, and it's part of my ethos that I like reusing stuff, whether it's timber, whether it's rusty nails, and that carries on to tools as well. So most of my chainsaws they've come from garage sales. And anyway, I went to a garage sale, and there's this beautiful West Jarrah burl, and you know what a West Jarrah burl is, but it's a beautiful red burgundy timber, and it was magnificent, and it was bigger than my head. Anyway, I turned up at my local woodworking guild. This is early on. This is maybe 6-7 years ago. And what have you got there, Christian? I said, I got a West Jarrah burl. They went, ooh, that's a bit nice. Mate, put it aside. No offense, but you're a shit wood turner. Go and put it aside. Go stick it in the shed and come back to it in a couple of years. Go and here you go. Here's a bit of camphor laurel. Go and work with that and get good, because you won't find another bit that nice, and you don't want to ruin it. So So 6 months ago, I got the burl out and made some beautiful, beautiful stuff. And they're right. It's you got to listen to advice when it's there. And they were totally right. I would have buggered it up. And yeah.
Yeah, and the thing with that you can take the wood off, but you can't put it back on. And when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's just part of learning.
And knowing when to stop. Knowing when to stop's a big one too.
Isn't that the rabbit hole you can go down?
Yeah, you got this beautiful bowl, and wood turning a beautiful bowl, and you think, the grain in that is beautiful. I wonder if I just take another couple of millimeters off, and will it get better? And then all of a sudden there's a dirty big knot hole, or there's something a bit, or it splits, or you grind through the bottom or something. And I've done it a dozen times.
Yep, that's always that last cut. It's but it's also even with finishing and all of those sorts of things. where's the point of diminished return?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you can keep going and going and going and going, but really, how much better is it getting? How much
Yeah.
improvement are you giving to it by investing more of that time and that effort and all of that sort of stuff? Yeah, I think that there's sort of a bit of a graph of diminished return where it sort of falls off the edge of a cliff. You can keep going until you're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, you're not really making necessarily any greater benefit to the actual piece.
Yeah, very, very true. The good thing about being commercial and making a living from this is that I have to assess things and think it's not financially viable for me to spend another day on this. And so I learned to work quick. I learned to make broad strokes and to make those big cuts and get in and get it done rather than sort of make a dozen little cuts. It's like having the experience and having the knowledge just to yeah to refine what I do and get that yeah get it done and get it done in a timely fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody who was teaching recently, and they were saying, you just take such big cuts. And it's like, yeah, but I have to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because, if I'm just doing this and mucking about with it and fiddle farting about, it's going to take me three times as long. And then I've got to put three times the price on it.
yeah. This is the hard bit between what is a hobby and what is a professional. What is gonna pay your bills at the end of the week.
And
Um,
it doesn't matter how far you wrap that up into being arty-farty or whatever else, you still need to have the buyer at the end of the day that's going to have the shekels in their wallet to be able to buy it.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it has to
That's
be reasonably competitive. And I mean, I'm not in a necessarily a big sort of art part of Australia. Um, it's it's more sort of military and government and all of that sort of stuff. So I mean, there's money here, but it's not as much in terms of from an artistic perspective. So it doesn't have that sort of culture around art. Whereas I
yeah,
guess sort of where you are and Tassie and certain places in Victoria, um, there's far more capacity around that. Even if you go, up to Mullaney or those types of places, there's far more focus around the cultural side of stuff, which is useful, I guess, when when doing these types of things because your
yeah,
market's there.
yeah. The beauty of Northern Rivers, or I'm in Chindra. It's a stone's throw from the Queensland border.
Yep.
About 10 minutes up the road from me is the Gold Coast. Gold Coast holiday destination, but all the timber that I use is northern New South Wales.
Yep.
So the people around my neighbourhood, they're they're very practical. Lots of farmers, lots of primary producers, and while they might see something is beautiful, they don't see the high end art side of things. Like most of the people in my woodshed, my woodworking group, they're like, I don't understand what you're doing, Christian. And I go, well, I'm making a 6 foot dung beetle and I'm doing this. And why are you doing that? What's the purpose of it? Oh, so I just want to entertain people. I want kids to stop in their tracks and I want them to think about recycling. I want people to, they're like, who's going to buy a 6 foot dung beetle? Oh, well, you'd be surprised. Uh,
Exactly. And that's something I guess I talk to often if I'm doing markets and things like that because people go, "What's it for?" And it's like,
yeah.
"What?
I wish I had $1 for every time I've heard
What?"
that.
It's like, "What's a painting for?" You look
yeah.
at it because you like it. It doesn't have any utilitarian use. It's just a
Yeah.
nice thing that gives you pleasure.
Yeah, I've had this debate with schoolmates and things like that, and they're what is art? And I say, look, art is anything that creates an emotion in you. The difference between art and good art is that you control that emotion. So I could gaffer tape a banana to the wall. Now, technically, that's art, and in some parts of the world, that sells for crazy money. Um, is it good art? That's debatable. but
That's in the eye of the
makes you,
beholder, though, isn't it?
it makes you think about something. And this is, that's it. We all make art. We can all make art, but making a good art and creating, trying to control that response to what I make is that's the challenge for me.
Because I guess at the end of the day, that you're wanting to induce an emotional response from someone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And whether that's an art lover that's blissing out of my use of negative space, or the juxtaposition of raw materials with polished, beautiful wood grain, or whether that's a school kid goes, wow, that's a 6 foot beetle. That's the biggest beetle I've ever seen. I never thought I'd see one of them on a beach on a school excursion. Both are equally sad. Look, I'm giving myself goosebumps, but both are
Yeah.
equally satisfying for me, because before they saw my stuff, they didn't know. They didn't know that. They didn't think that. And because of the effort that I put into it, because of, I got a forklift and a crane and winched this bugger down to the beach. Yeah, it's worth the effort, because it's like, in a school class of 30 kids, there's a couple that go, man, that's awesome. Yeah, a
Yep.
couple will walk by it, a couple might scratch their name into it with a biro, but there'll be a couple in any class, there'll be a couple that go, wow, I want to do that for a job. And
And that's that next generation of inspiration.
yeah, yeah, that's the second. Well, it's one thing to have a passion, but if you can instill that passion into other people, yeah, that's it doubles your passion. For me anyway, it's my happiest day besides making things out of wood is helping someone else make things out of wood, and sharing that joy, and that I don't know. It's
Sharing the
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah.
Because I
That's
know
really
I go on
joyful.
about it all the time about, the gatekeepers of the knowledge. It just drives me nuts. I just don't see the
Yeah.
value in any of that. Why gatekeep the knowledge? I mean, the knowledge should be there to be shared so that everybody can either create or have an enjoyment in what people create themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Look, I I never knew about creating fungus and getting changing colors in chunks of mango, but yeah, I'm going to woodshed next week. I'm going to tell every bugger about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, but that's just about learning stuff, and I wouldn't have learnt that unless I knocked about with some grumpy old bastard who I happened to talk to, and he said, you can do this," and it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
serious.
yeah.
And then it
And
was like,
for me,
okay, let's explore how I can do that. And then, I mean, I didn't do it the way that he did it necessarily, and I got a little bit more sciencey with a mate, but yeah, it's like, how good fun is that? You know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's it's information, but it filters through you, and then you can add something to it, or you can change something, and you can progress that idea.
absolutely. And that's what I like to do in terms of doing that sort of stuff that you keep on stepping up that level. And that just keeps me interested as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The other thing that I love about all that stuff with people who come and look at your artwork, whether it's you or whether it's me, is actually looking at the technical detail of how did you actually do that?
yeah, yeah. I really enjoy that.
Yeah,
I like to leave hints.
yeah.
I don't want to state everything, but the occasional hint. So you got to leave that breadcrumb trail.
No, I loved wood turning those perfect spheres, and they don't have a mounting mark on them or anything, and that's like, how have you done that? Or
Yeah.
those Taurus, you're like, how do you actually mount it to even do it? You know?
Taurus is a like a donut shape.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
See,
so
I
if you're
don't.
doing a timber donut like that, how do you physically mount it to the lathe? And
Yeah.
and that's part of the fun of actually thinking that through.
Yeah.
And
I'm yeah, I'm that bugger at the art gallery that's trying to crawl underneath sculptures just to see how they've made it stand up on its end, or yeah.
yep,
those
how have
art
they got
gallery
that balance
curators.
point worked out and all of
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah, I'm the one that the curators are running to stop, and no, 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 get back, and it's like, I got to see how it's made. I want to make one for myself. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's, that curiosity is nice. It pushes me to try stuff. And if I can't find how they did it, I'll keep chipping away until I work it out for myself. And sometimes that might be an entirely different method, or sometimes I just nail it and go, oh yeah, that's how yeah.
Well, my old man wood turned a meter round sphere.
Wow. Wow.
And no one saw him do it. So,
Yeah.
and it's taken me probably 30 years to work out the logistics of how the hell he could have actually done it. Because you can't do anything that big over bed. I don't know any lathe that's got, a meter
Yeah, clear.
throw on it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Mm.
So, yeah, and it took me forever until I worked out, well, he's just turned it outboard because there's not one mounting mark on it. So it's clean.
Wow.
Yeah. And what I'll put money on it is that he's backed the tractor up to the back of the lathe and he's whacked it on the PTO and he's pinned it between the lathe and the PTO of the tractor.
Wow.
I can't think of any other possible way of doing it.
So you make the PTO, you make the back end of a tractor your new lathe.
Yeah, well, you're either using it as the live center or the tailstock, one of the two. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter which end. You can use that as the drive, or you can just use that as the support. But one way or the other, it's the only thing that's big enough that
Geez,
would
you
be
want to
able
make
to
sure the
do
handbrake works. Check that handbrake.
it. Because I mean, it could be going at a rate of knots.
That's
But yeah,
got me
but
thinking.
those types of things, that's the stuff that I just love trying to work out. Like,
Hmm.
how have you logistically done that? I want to
Yeah,
know and work out the technical detail,
yeah,
because I reckon that's the stuff that's just fascinating.
yeah. That's me as well. I pull stuff apart. You know, yeah, whether it's tools or whether it's artwork, I'm pulling it apart to find out the method. It's, and uh, there's more enjoyment in that. Once I sort of uh, I discover that mystery, whether once I solve that mystery, that gives me another appreciation. Yeah.
Because I love old clocks.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're singing to the choir, Dale. I like an old clock myself.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah,
I've got a few floating around the place, and if they don't work, even better, because then I
yeah,
want I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
make them work.
Yeah, cuckoo clocks. Yeah, those little paper bellows that make them sing and chirp. Yeah. How how do people's brains work like that?
Oh, that that's the stuff that is just so fascinating about creativity.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, where did that idea come from?
yeah, yeah,
And again, it's like what we were talking about before, that in most cases, it's just building upon a previous idea, and you're just pushing that bar higher and higher and higher.
and and people come to hobbies through other hobbies. So in my case, woodworking came after I dabbled for, I used to be Anset's florist. In the 2000 Olympics, you win a gold medal and a bunch of flowers. They were
Yep.
my bunch of flowers. And
Wow.
so while I don't look like a florist and I don't work as a florist, but all that floristry knowledge on, good mechanics and getting flowers upright and all that, color sense and, pairing colors and aesthetics and stuff like that. I use that in my sculpture. I use that in my woodwork, and that's that unique perspective. Whereas other people, they might have been engineers in a previous incarnation, and then they use that as their basis of building knowledge.
Hang on 2 secs. I'm just going to grab something and I'm going to show it to you. Hang on. So I was having a chat to Corin Urquhart from Nyrock Tools a while
Hmm.
ago, and unbeknownst to me, he was just making some stuff. I don't know whether you can see it.
Pen? Oh wait. Oh, it's a like a scribe.
Yep, it's an yeah, but does it focus on the
No, it
actual?
doesn't. But you've got a repeated design on it.
Yeah, it's me on a skateboard.
Nice. How? How do you print on that?
It's etched. It's it's etched and it's actually color etched.
Wow.
And but that's the stuff that is just so cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
he doesn't know anyone in the world who's actually doing exactly the same way that what he's doing with the same methodology. And it's like, there are some smart fuckers out there, aren't there?
There are. There are. There are. Yeah.
But yeah, it's that sort of stuff. And yeah, and then he just chucked him in the mail and sent him to me. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that sort of
Dig it.
stuff is just yeah, it's just so wonderful when it happens. But yeah, and then you look at it and just go, mate, just the craftsmanship in that is just
Yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah,
And there's satisfaction in
yeah,
him
and
posting that off.
he sent me another one, which is a knurling a
Oh.
knurling pen with the same pattern on it. So for knurling holes and all that sort of stuff in steel. Just take the burr off everything. And again, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and you just sit there and think, how bloody blessed am I to be able to chat to people who are smart like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just the way that their brain works.
Yeah.
I just find that's ultimately fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's why I love doing these interviews because I just get to talk to all sorts of really interesting people who do really different, weird, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to dabble in taxidermy, and anyway, I sort of shared my passion with a mate. He used to be a hairdresser, and he used to do high-end hairdressing and used to dye things and bleach things. So he's really good with his chemicals and his pH and all that sort of stuff. So I'd do something. I'd say, "Look, I got shown how to do this," and he'd go, "Oh, well, the reason that works is because of the negative pH, and if you lower your base enough, then that will let this happen." And it's like, I never knew that. I only know what I know because someone told me it or I watched someone do it. And he's like, oh, well, it makes sense. Chemically, it makes sense. And if you do this, then this will happen. And yeah,
Yeah. No, I'm not smart enough for that caper. But
no,
but I guess that's interesting when you talk about how do you get that last 15 to 10 to 15% of that skill base of that knowledge. And it's like to learn that just by trial and error on your own is inherently hard.
yeah, yeah,
If you don't know, you don't know. And if there are easier, faster, quicker, more efficient ways of doing things or whatever, yeah, it comes back a little bit back to that holder of the knowledge stuff that
yeah.
why
And
why would you
some
want to hold all of that stuff to yourself rather than share it with other people?
and sometimes it's not just knowledge. Sometimes it's trial and error. And it's like Bob Ross said it, the happy mistakes. And budget plays a part in things too. It's like the reason that I use a lot of my work has burnt timbers in it. One, I like playing with fire. Two, it gives beautiful shadows, and so like movie makeup. If you see someone on stage, rather than put on normal makeup, they accentuate everything so it's really contrasty. Because if you're across an auditorium, you're 50 feet away from an actor, you need that expression to come through, and face to face you can see it, but you need that accentuated. And for me, that's what burning my timber does. So all these little tiny cracks, the detail, you can see it up close, but from across a beach or from across a room, you need to convey that message, and you can convey that texture or that shadow. And so you accentuate these things. And
Because it's that
yeah,
texture stuff that I find really interesting, and I'm getting more and more into doing a lot more texturing on a lot of my woodwork stuff just because it's different and it interests me,
Yeah.
and not everything needs to be smoothie, shiny,
Hmm.
shiny, and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like doing the burning stuff too, but I like it when you actually get the crackle burning with all the squares and whatever it's called. I just find that when you're pushing the burn to where it's actually really properly charring, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just before you're grabbing that fire extinguisher, it's like you get
Yeah,
to that sweet spot.
exactly. Yeah. No, I find that is really interesting, and I'm doing a little bit of a series about those at the moment, and I'm just taking it even further in terms of how far that I can push it, yeah, and how I can then burn it, then put it back on the lathe and create different patternings through the burn.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff with that. It's
And that's the stuff that's really interesting, that you don't just narrow yourself into a pocket. It's always
yeah.
keeping on wanting to expand your ideas and thinking.
Yeah, and not being precious with what you're making it. Sometimes it's like, what seems like you're going down the wrong path, if you persevere with that wrong path, and if you're stubborn enough to burn it that little bit extra, you get some beautiful effects. Sometimes you don't, but sometimes you
Yeah.
do,
Yep.
and it's worth
Occasionally you'll end
pushing
up
it.
with a complete cluster, and that's okay too.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But that's part of the experimentation, and that's part of the creative process.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've got a mate, and he turns up these beautiful pens on the lathe. Now he's sort of mid 80s maybe, and so he can't do the big stuff anymore. Physically, he can't do those big things, and he's beautiful wood turner. And so he hones his art, and he spends his time making these wooden pens, and then he just gives them away to friends and family. Gets a lot of enjoyment out of it. But he was putting. I looked at his design, and he's got these really thin slithers of white, and I said, how do you get that? Like, is this wood veneer? Is this some like white timber? He goes, no, it's an old credit card, and I just glue 2 blocks of wood to it, and when I turn it, you get these beautiful white sort of lines through it. And I said, that's genius. It's went through my wallet looking for every expired card that I own, and yeah, let's put it on a lathe, see what
Yeah.
happens.
And I mean,
Yeah.
that's when you're not just getting stuck with a particular medium.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I like
absolutely.
playing with different sorts of stuff. I like playing with, timber and steel when I'm doing turning stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big resin fan. That just doesn't necessarily float my boat. But that's just my own personal view. And because I use everything from in the shed,
yeah.
I don't really want plastics and microplastics going into my chook pen or into my veggie patch or
No,
to wherever else. But that's just a personal thing. But if people want to go and turn resin and make all these wonderful U-Butte things and they're just trying new ideas, knock
yeah,
yourself out.
yeah, yeah,
Might
yeah.
not be my cup of tea, but that doesn't matter.
No, no, resin's not really my cup of tea either. Um, one is the expense, two, the time that it takes, and my shed is drafty. Like, I build it out of recycled materials, and that little bit of dust in resin and it spoils the whole effect. So I don't even dabble in resin. Some other people are great at it. I take my hat off. They get beautiful results, but it's not my bag.
No,
Um,
no. And I'm more traditional, I guess, around. I do like that juxtaposition between steel and timber. I think it
yeah.
works. It
Hmm.
Yeah, it always works.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, there's just something really interesting also between the warmth of the timber and the coldness of the steel. There's this really nice juxtaposition that actually happens that I just think's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. I like patinaed stuff. Again, it goes back to that storytelling that wood has, and patinaed metal, like you get old copper boilers and stuff like that,
The
and it's
green, yeah,
beautifully green.
or the
Yeah.
verdigris, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
random patterns and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah,
and then
scrap
some
copper.
greens out more than other bits, and it's just so
Yeah,
textural and yeah, yeah. No, I love it.
yeah.
Hey, so you were actually heading up to ephemera here in Townsville. It was a big. That was a that's Townsville has a
Yeah,
big art installation
They
for
do.
sculpture and stuff every 2 years.
Every
So
2 years. It's a biannual event.
what happened, brother?
It was up there in 2023, and I made 17 giant seashells,
I
carved
remember it.
seashells out of wood. Um, and anyway, applications were in. They gave me the tick, and I got approved for it. And now some of these sculpture festivals, they want what is virginal art, as in we want to see something that you haven't showed anywhere at all. We want something that we want to launch your piece of work. Other festivals, not so fussy. If you've shown it somewhere with good results, yeah, we'll show it in our neck of the woods. I understand both points, but ephemera. I made this dung beetle thing. I came up with the idea for ephemera. Originally, two giant spheres and three giant dung beetles. And in my head, it was beautiful. In my shed, it was beautiful. And then I had a shed fire, I think an electrical fault or something. And I woke up 2 a.m. and there is my entire shed on fire and everything in it. So every woodworking tool I own. This is 3 weeks before ephemera. 3 weeks before ephemera. This is middle of the year. And shed is ablaze. Every bit of stored timber, all this timber that I'd stored to age it and to mature it, that everything that I owned, everything that I used creatively just went up. A local fire brigade came, and anyway, it took them a while, but they put out the blaze, and there was nothing left. So I had to make that unhappy phone call to ephemera saying, look, thank you, but I've had a disaster and I can't make it. So they said, oh, well, we understand. The deadline was just, I had no materials. Even if I had the materials, I had no tools to create a new sculpture. The thing was sitting in my shed. I was just waiting to freight that thing, 5 timber pallets worth of stuff, ship it up to Townsville. It was going to be glorious. And anyway, I hate pulling out of stuff. I hate not, I promised grand ideas and couldn't make those deadlines, and so didn't make it. So this one I had to rebuild the shed, and I've had to redo the piece, and I'll be showing it at on the Gold Coast in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So learning curve. Don't store all your flammable stuff all in one place, and if you do, make sure it's at the far end of your yard, not near your house, and don't do it with a pregnant wife, and buy more fire extinguishers than you think you're ever going to need, because I had 3 and they didn't make a lick of difference.
My biggest fear is a shed fire.
Yeah.
And so looking at the photos that you sent me, when it happened, it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a wall of flames.
It wasn't mucking about.
I got those big bugger fire extinguishers that they have in government buildings and stuff. I had 3 of them. I could physically not get close enough to the flames to fight that fire. Just that wall of heat was scorching my forehead and burnt the front of my hair. And anyway, I had to sit back, watch it burn. And there was wood stains. There was aerosol cans. I use aerosol cans to mark out where I'm going to make the cuts.
Yep.
With big log, I spray paint all the cuts that I'm going to make. All went, and
And that would have all intensified the kaboomies of everything else.
Yeah. So so I rebuilt the shed, rebuilt my art, and we'll just call it a bump in the road.
I mean, my heart went out to you, mate. It really did. That was a gutter. I could tell.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still just stuff.
It is just stuff. Yeah. I had some beautiful stuff. And that's all right. It'll come back.
Then you just start again and you start collecting.
Start again.
Good excuses to go to garage sales, mate.
Yeah. It's a good excuse to buy more tools. Yeah. I did lose some beautiful chainsaws though. The thing about chainsaws, there's a bit of maintenance to it. And so and there's different saws, and there's different size saws, and there's different applications. Some saws, big long bar on them, you can slice through huge things. Other things, you've got a tapered blade, and it's a really fine saw that you can do all this fine detail with. And I had one of everything. I had 7 different chainsaws, and I name them. So just to keep track of who needs a new carburetor, who needs to be, so I name them like cyclones. So I started with Alice, that was my first chainsaw, and then the next one was Bertha, and then there was Cindy, and then there was Daphne, and then there's Edith, and anyway, I was up to Jay. Jay was Jezebel, and six, 7 of my girls, well, 6.5 of my girls just went up in flames. So
now you're starting at K all over again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got K, I've got L, M, I've got M, and next chainsaw from a garage sale's gonna be N. But I'm working my way through the alphabet, and yeah, that's all right.
Oh, mate, these things are sent to try us, aren't they?
They are. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, I'm really pleased that you're getting back on your feet and that you're back making again, and you'll be back exhibiting again in a couple of weeks. So that's down on the Gold Coast then, hey?
Gold Coast, 12th of September to the 21st of September. I'll be there most days. I'm displaying my art. There's 80 large scale sculptural pieces. As well as that, there is I'm teaching school kids workshops. So rudimentary, we're making little tiny beetles, this sort of size, and they're going to decorate them. They're going to sand them. I've just got confirmation in an email that I've got 267 school kids coming to my workshops.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, kids fill out their application form, and they turn up for a school excursion in a big bus. I get 30 of the buggers all at once, all in a room, and yeah, it fills my heart with joy. Yeah, it's that whole thing about sharing a passion. Yeah, some of these kids, they're going to love it. Some of them are going to, then I'm not going to reach them. I don't care.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. And if you manage to inspire 10% of those kids, then you're on a winner.
Afternoon.
Echo. Sorry, Dale. Echo, stop. Yeah, I got, it's that Amazon Alexa chirping at me to remind me to pay rent today.
These important things of, real world, first world problems.
Yeah, first world problems. Yeah. The landlord wasn't too happy about the shed fire, but yeah, we're still friends. I've still got some of the...
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah. It's just one of those things that just happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, thanks for spending so much time with me. I really, really appreciate it. And how we love having a chat anyway. So
yeah. Good luck editing. But
yeah, thanks, mate. Hey, next time you're up for ephemera, we'll have to have a quiet shandy or two.
Yeah, I'm not getting an automatic entry, but I reckon I've already greased the wheels the last 2 ephemerals, and I reckon with any luck I'll be back 2027. But you never know what's going to happen. I might be up there long before that. I'll come for a drink.
I'll be down for your way anyway.
So yeah.
We'll catch up for a wee sherbet.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy.
I want you to come down, come down, and I'll introduce you to down at the woodshed. You can you show them your wares.
Oh, mate, absolutely. No, I'd love to get some.
We got more lathes than members. We got big Vic marks and all these beautiful things. Beautiful.
That's what I like to hear. That's what my shed's full of these days.
Yeah, I like a Vic mark. I get that thing dancing across the workshop. Yeah.
No, I've now managed to. I've had to bolt mine to the floor.
Yeah. I turn it down. It's you go from 1 to 10, and at 6.5 it starts dancing. I dial it down to 6 until I get it trued up, and then I ramp it up a bit. But
the other weird thing is, though, with that, and it sounds really counterintuitive, but sometimes if you speed up through the vibration, you actually get to a next. You actually get to a next level, and the cadence will actually drop off. So you'll actually push through the vibration. So sometimes give it a little tiny bit of a tweak more, because I mean, you can slam it back really quickly if it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes give it a tweak just a little bit further and you can push through that vibration point.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, it sounds really counterintuitive
small.
and it sounds sketchy, but it often actually works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll give it a go.
So easy, brother.
All right, mate.
Hey,
Good to chat.
get some sleep, mate.
Yeah. I'm on baby duties now. Dinner's on the
All
way.
right, mate. Thank you
All
very
right.
much for your time.
See you, Dan.
Okay, catch you, mate. Uru.